Welcome to the final chapters of Don Quixote. And now, let's start. Today we end our chapters and our adventure with Don Quixote with the chapters of, 38 to 74. I prepared this little note presentation, so this is much of a script to help me along the way, because I'm a really good forgetter. So this is what happens. The governor, basically Sancho goes ahead and finds out that he's a governor right now, and he's finally promised the land that he's promised of, and it basically means that he's in an island, except this is the weird thing. An island has to be in the middle of the sea, right? Well, for some reason, the island that Sancho was forced upon was for some reason just in the middle of land. Let me just draw a really quick picture for you. This is what Sancho thought he was in, and this is what he was actually on. Oh, correction. And so that's basically the whole story for you. And right now, there's not much of things that they could do. In fact, he became a governor, and turns out he's a really wise governor. Although he is a really bad writer and speaker. He does not know his ABCs, and he basically also does not really know the difference between A's and R's, and P's and R's too, turns out. And that's basically what happens. And right now, this is how it works out right now. The governor, in this case Sancho, decides, hey, I like this place. And then the doctor says, you cannot eat anything at all. In fact, this is what you'll do. Want to be a governor? Do not eat anything for the rest of your life. For the rest of the days as you are a governor. Like, Sancho, after doing it for a few days, like, I hate you, doctor. I'm not gonna suck you. You are fired forever unless you let me eat one dinner tonight. And a big one. He's like, yes, sir. And so that happens, and then Sancho goes ahead and does lots of other things that seems to make him prove his greatness, and turns out it makes his fairness into the accountability. And then the thing is, we go back to Don Quixote, who seems to be having a little mishap of his own. Well, by that, I actually mean that he's in the clutches of the Duke and Duchess. Duke and Duchess. I think that's how you pronounce their names. And the Duke and Duchess, if you remember, prior to this governorship thing, they decided to, hey, let's pretend that Don Quixote and Sancho Panza are on the moon. And so, blindfolded them, put them on some horses, and said, do you want to free these women of cusses? Sancho's like, IDK. And Don Quixote's like, of course, yes. And so they're like, okay, then blindfold yourselves and go to the moon. Sancho, you have to come to the moon. I don't care if you don't want to come, but you have to come. And fine, you go, bossy pants. That's what Sancho at least thinks, or at least that's what he kind of says. And so they're on a fake horse, and then it rocks back and forth, and then they fall down, and then when they take off the blindfold, they basically see the women without their beards right now. And also, the fact is, they've never really been on the moon. That was a sham. I'm pretty sure no one's been on the moon yet at the time of this writing. And there's already there's already been a few people on the moon already too, and there seem to be expeditions to go to the moon in a few years. So that happened, and so the madman came to be, and so Don Quixote decides, hey, Sancho, here's some advice about how to be a good governor. First of all, you cannot cuss, you cannot burp, you cannot belch. And so that happens, and then Sancho does a really good saying, and then he also used a lot of proverbs, crammed them in, just like that. And lots of people didn't really understand him, but for some reason they liked it. So that's something. And they did a reading, and a hearing and the reading of Don Quixote and Sancho letters written and read by Don Quixote himself for some reason. Also, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a secret too. And that happens, and then Don Quixote decides that, hey, here's the thing. I don't want to be a puppet anymore. Well, Sancho's like, I don't want to be a governor anymore, and if it means no food to be a governor, then I quit the job. And so he does, and he finds a friend along the way, says, you said you're a governor on the island, and here, but there's no sea there. How can it be an island when there's no sea? And yeah, that's a pretty good thing. And Sancho's like, I don't care, but I just quit. That's what matters. And I guess that's what matters to him. And then we end up with this note when Don Quixote goes back home, and then he stays there, and then he falls asleep. feeling very sick after being defeated by a knight, and that made him say like, hey, I defeated you. I'm the knight. I just defeated you. And now, the white knight, yeah, I just defeated you. And now you have to quit knight energy for at least a year. Okay, I'll be shepherd. And so he does that, but when he comes back, he feels really ill, and then he wakes up for the first time, like ever since he went back to bed. He's like, I am Alfonso QUIXOTE. So that's how you say it. Alfonso QUIXOTE. Yeah, Alfonso QUIXOTE. And right now, I am never Don Quixote. I was a madman, and Sancho, I'm leaving you a lot of money. Niece, I'm leaving you also a lot of money. I'm leaving you everything I have in possession. You guys, I also give you a lot of money. And you, my niece, so one more note, if you'll have to give back everything to Sancho, well, not really to Sancho, but that's what I like to believe. You have to give everything back to me. You have to forfeit the fortune. I'll probably give it to the government if you marry a man who has a lot of knight books books about knights in his library, if he does have one. And then Don Quixote sleeps for the last time, and then he dies. Now, why did, and then, like, in the epilogue, there's no epilogue. I like to imagine my own epilogue, but according to Cervantes, he killed Don Quixote so that, no copyrighted there? Well then, I will make my own copyright! And so he kills Don Quixote so that no one can make a trilogy of this, at least a fake trilogy of this. One more thing, he also makes fun Cervantes makes fun of the fake part 2 that was published. Of Don Quixote's Third Adventures that were completely fake, and there were no copyrights at the time, so that's completely illegal. And so Don Quixote, and so Cervantes is really mad and criticizes the whole thing, and this is how he criticized it. Don Quixote read like a book about like him meeting some guy and then doing some adventure things, and like, this book is ridiculous, it's fabulum, whoever wrote this book I want to kill. And so that's basically what happens too. And that is an out of order summary of Don Quixote. Well, mostly not out of order, but except for that last part, everything's out of order. By the way, that last part I just said was in the middle of chapter 38 to 74. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. See you guys soon. And next up, we have the full book summary. Then we have the full book review. See you guys soon. Now out. Peace. Don't rip the chair.